Welcome to NAB Day 2. You are in the Creator Lab classroom in the Creator Lab. I'm Robin Raskin. We started the Creator Lab in partnership with NAB 3 years ago because we felt broadcast was changing and a whole new generation of both enterprise and corporates and content creators were growing up with a whole different way to create and distribute media. So that's what we do here. We have three areas in the show. We've got the Creator Lab main stage with, you'll see a variety of creators, of people giving business advice, of some NAB announcements about what they're going to do to help creators, all coming up in the show on the main stage. We have exhibitors who have tips and tools and products that every creator should add to their repertoire. And we have the workshop classroom. And the classroom is really meant to help you expand your horizons. So, how many people here have live streamed? Right? And how many people have had problems live streaming? So you ain't seen nothing yet, right? So our next speaker actually was one of the people responsible for the live stream that just happened with Artemis from OuterSpace. Whole different set of issues, but a really great inspirational talk about the power of community and of making worldwide moments through streaming. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lee Erickson, and who's with Leidos, but close partner with NASA, who and his team who built the live streaming capabilities that you saw in the wonderful Artemis launch and re-entry. Take it away, Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's good.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars. We need to go explore the moon. There's vast regions of unexplored areas with the coldest, darkest places in our solar system. This is a test mission, and when we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system and the Orion spacecraft.
But another reason we're going back to the moon is to fulfill NASA's mission, which is to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And when we succeed and when we accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, that inspiration not only can set up new things to happen, but it also is a reminder in tough times that we're capable of doing great things when we work together.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. Those benefits are really wide in nature. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers and operators that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team.
When I think about the 4 of us flying around the far side of the moon, seeing that Earth rise, taking images and video and sending them back to you, the feeling that I have inside is hope. We know that Artemis 2 is not the solution for humanity on planet Earth, but it is a contribution in the positive column. We hope that just for a moment that people will pause and say, wow, it's extraordinary when you look back upon the Earth with over 8 billion people. And you see this concrete example of what humanity can do, this extraordinary thing when we set big goals and we work together to achieve them.
So yes, so I always like to say starting off streaming from space is hard. There's like so many caveats. Like you guys know just streaming on Earth is hard, right? But from streaming from space, there's like a little extra to it. So that's I like to tell everybody it's very hard. All right. All right, so what I want to talk about today is like what you saw was like maybe 1/10 of what was going on. This is kind of like a little map of what all we did. There were 718 secure internal channels that we were delivering. You guys just saw the one, right? So there's all these mission cameras and different feeds that were coming down. There were 3,000 decoders, 500 encoders, 10 transcoders. We were averaging 4.5 gigabytes a second with all of these feeds coming in. So it was crazy town. So what I want to talk about, since you guys, you have all the technology, you can talk to all the people. I'm going to tell you some of the things that we went through during this mission. And so some of the first things we went through was we had cameras that failed. And, everybody has a camera that fails. We had cameras that had issues. And so our launch coverage wasn't the best. And we're NASA. We practiced for months and months and months to do this. And we looked up on the screen and there were 12 cameras in black. So 12 out of 24, where do you go next? You're looking at that, the director's looking at that screen and like half our resources are gone, right? So we punched to the wide, the medium wide shot, right? So that was our first issue that we went through. The second issue we went through, like this is one of the first issues of our first images of the moon as we were going to the moon. And we were dealing with bandwidth limitations because we had a low power RF satellite transmitter. And sometimes we only had 500 kilobits of bandwidth that we had to use. So we had to be creative. And some of the images you saw, since the Orion was moving it was fast, like thousands of miles an hour. But because of the moon was so far away, it looked like it was moving slow. So we were able to slow the frame rates down to like 5 frames per second and utilize the 500K at 5 frames a second. So that what you guys saw, it was a little edgy, but at least you saw it. And the reason we had 500K is that we had to share the bandwidth with engineering, who had data feeds like the health of the astronauts. So I can't go to the engineering people and go, I want 4K feeds. I don't care what the heart rate is of an astronaut, right? But so we had to like give and take. And there were some periods that we had the animation. So one of the things, like the reason we showed this is because it was amazing how fast it didn't look like it was going. If you watch the YouTube feed, the 24/7 feed, again, it didn't look like it was going fast at all. But it was like 1,500 miles an hour. And we tracked how far it was from the Earth and how close it was to the moon. And this was the animation that we had that we put up when we lost signal. So I think everybody has that fear that what do you do when you lose a signal? And so we got with a bunch of really good programmers and they used like an Unreal Engine video game and we fed it data live from the Orion capsule. So we had something to look at when we lost signal, which we did, right? Because the capsule has to be in a certain orientation, has to be aimed at a certain orientation to get back to Earth. And sometimes we had to move it around for solar panels and things like that, and we lost signal. So we got creative with our animation. So you got to see the orientation, how far it was. We tried to be entertaining a little bit, but informative as well. And so this was one of the later shots, or coming into splashdown as we were coming back from Earth. One of the cool things that we were using is a system called optical comms. And we had a seminar yesterday about it, but optical comms is a laser that's on this capsule here. And that laser, so this thing is moving, you saw that 1,000 miles an hour, right? And the Earth is turning. And this thing shot a laser out of this, not like a visible laser, but a laser and it hit a little satellite dish in Australia. And for an hour, we had like 28 gigabits, downlink with a laser. Now, I don't know how difficult just think about it. We're thousands of miles away, going thousands of miles an hour, and it's a satellite dish, and that laser's like locked in for an hour while everything is moving, right? It's amazing. I always say like we had freaking lasers, right? Like Austin Powers. So that's one of those shots. You can see the Earth coming back. And this was one of our, you guys see this all the time, right? So again, this is that 500 kilobits per second. And we were trying the best we could do to get it back. But the reason we decided to do this and show everything is everybody thinks that we faked the mission, right, to go to the moon. Like, oh, it's fake. So we set up a YouTube channel that we show the rocket go all the way out to the launch pad. You guys could watch it get filled up with fuel. You watched it launch. Then we turned the cameras on the Orion, and we never stopped streaming. 10 days of nonstop streaming, right? 149 million views of nonstop streaming from this capsule, just so that we could show you, like, there was no cutaways, there were no, and that some of the team members are back here that didn't sleep for 10 days, but we did this for 10 days straight. Yeah. Just so that we can show the world that we tried our best to say we didn't fake it. We had companies come to us and go, hey, we can clean this up with AI. But what would happen if NASA used AI to clean up a footage, right? And it's like, oh, you used AI, we faked it. So we couldn't use AI. We couldn't use any image enhancers because it was like, well, you used image enhancers, that's not real. So this was a raw feed straight from a downlink from Orion to an encoder, straight to YouTube, just so that you guys can watch this feed 24/7. 10 days straight, 149 million views. It was crazy. This is where we were holding, I think everybody was holding their breath, right? The little drogue, a lot of people didn't know that there was little drogue parachutes that came out first. Like, this little tiny parachute's not gonna stop this thing, right? But the little drogue parachute is to, like, get the capsule straight and get it from doing this, swinging. And then once it stops swinging, then they pop the main parachutes. Because you imagine if it's swinging and the centrifugal force of that thing, it would basically bust through the parachute. And the cool thing about the parachutes, this is my favorite shot, is that we tested parachutes at NASA for like years to try to come up with a new parachute. That's the same design as Apollo used, right? So all the new technology in the world and the best technology was the stuff that was 50 years ago, right? The other cool thing about this shot was this, everybody goes back to the original Apollo footage of, oh, we had film and stuff live back. We saw the astronauts get out of the capsule, but that's not what you saw live. I don't know how many people were alive when the capsule splashed down, but it wasn't live. They had to get that film, take it off the boat, get it back, develop it. Then they showed it to you. This was the first splashdown that was shown live. We had 7 aerial assets. They're all streaming with encoders to like Starlink encoders to get back to us so that you guys could see this remote footage. We have 7 aerial assets. We had a WB-57, which it's a jet with a camera on the front. And the guy that's flying the jet is also focusing and adjusting the camera at the same time. And that camera and that guy saw the Orion capsule just as it came down you could see the flames coming off the bottom of it. And it was like rock solid. And he's flying a jet and doing the camera at the same time, right? I'm like, this guy's amazing. And again, we had 7 aerial assets, all encoding Starlink. We had 2 encoders on a ship for the retrieval using Starlink. So everything we had was streaming, getting back to us to decode it and stream it back to you guys. And so if you've ever streamed one thing, you know how nerve-wracking it is. We had 10 things all streaming at the same time. And we were like, please, nothing break. Please, nothing break. And, thank God, nothing broke. Like, you could see everything. But let me see if I got the other shot on it. Here's the shot. If you go see tests with, like, people test encoders and decoders all the time. Do you know the footage that they use to test encoders and decoders with? Water, right? Because the water is so hard to encode because there's so many things moving in it, right? So here was our task. We have a helicopter flying, encoder, Starlink, and water. So our encoders and decoders were like, some of the guys in the back, they were constantly adjusting things like latency and we used SRT technology so that we could see what the encoders and decoders were talking to each other, so we can make adjustments on the fly, but not have to like a lot of people, like, when you get encoders and decoders, when you make a change, you got to reboot it, or you got to restart, you got to stop the stream, make a change, and then start it back up. Well, we found some encoders and decoders that you can make a change and hit apply, and they just keep trucking, right? So you can change the frame rate, you can change the bit rate, you can change the GOP structure, you can change the latency, and just keep trucking. And then over the years of doing these live events, you learn, like, okay, so we can bring the frame rate down to 30 and nobody will know, right? We can adjust the latency from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, We can change the GOP structure so that we put more B frames in, so it's a clear picture to you. So the lessons learned is like, know your encoders and decoders, so you know what parameters you can change on the fly so that you can basically make the pictures on the other end look better, right? Again, water, helicopter, airplane shooting down at this water, encoders going crazy. Oh, this was that shot I was telling you about. The guy, I got him out of order there, but this is the guy flying the jet with the camera on the jet, and he is focusing that camera. I don't know, like, if there was a center crosshair in a camera, I don't know how close he got to having that thing. If you watch the video, it didn't move, right? And he chased it all the way to saw it, and then you saw the drogue shoot pop out, and then you saw all that was that guy with the jet doing that stuff. And when it got, because it was a high altitude, but once it got low enough, then we could use helicopters and Cessnas and things like that to show you the other stuff. But to me, that's like an amazing, when you think about the guy flying the jet and pointing a camera at the same time, it's amazing. And the guy that does that is like jacked too. When you meet him, he's like, oh my god, wait. And so this is one of the shots that I was telling you about. This again, water. We tried our best to get the encoder and decoder what we could. Starlink, you're limited on bandwidth on Starlink. Our encoders, we were like constantly making changes. But I'll go back, like, you never saw from the Apollo days astronauts recover live, right? So this is like the first time that you're seeing astronauts recovered live from splashdown. Like, you saw splashdown. Like, Apollo people didn't see splashdown live. You saw the astronauts coming out. And again, this is all an attempt for NASA to be transparent. We didn't cut away. We didn't go to video. We didn't go simulations. It was all always live to you guys. And the producers and directors always made sure that you got the best view in the house, so you're up front. So we had people on the recovery ship making those choices. We had people back in Johnson making those choices, and people in Kennedy all making those choices, just so that you guys would have the best feed of this splashdown. And I grew up in the shuttle days, and launches always make me like nervous, because we all know what happened to some launches. Also, landings and recovery make me nervous. So we didn't breathe for launch and landing. But the other thing is, like, for 10 days, again, 10 days straight, 24/7, transparent to you, so that you guys could just watch it. And we still get comments like it got faked or whatever. Everybody goes and they look into all these little, oh, we saw an alien, or we saw, like, how did the NASA sticker not get burned up? Well, it did get burned up pretty well, right? But the mission, like, one thing I'll say about the mission was it was a perfect mission. The four people on the capsule were probably the four best people that you'll ever meet, right? I want a Christine Cook on my team. Like, she fixed that toilet like 5 times, right? Like, imagine there's like one engineer, there's a pilot, and 2 other people, but Christine's the engineer, right? So anything that broke, she was over there fixing it. And doing, like, if you ever watch the video, she's over there doing all of this stuff. Like, I want one of these people on my team that's always, they can just, hey, the toilet's broke. Hey, the computer needs to be fixed. Like, she went from fixing toilets to fixing fans to fixing computers. So yeah. The other thing I'll say about this is there's a place when they're going towards the moon, and it kind of got missed by a lot of people, but it's one of those, they call it a no-go on, but it's like one last burn from that capsule, right? And if the mathematicians or the calculator people got it wrong, they're going to miss the moon, and there's no coming back, right? And if you saw the error, the percentage of errors that could happen on both sides, like, they had to be, like, that math had to be perfect for them to do it. So they hit that engine one time, and away they went. That was like a big moment. I think everybody missed that moment of, we're going for that, launch. Yeah, okay, that's exciting. Landing, that's okay. But we're going to go, this is the button that we're going to push, and we're going to go. So those guys on that, they're pioneers. They remind me of the old Apollo people. I just get excited. When you talk to them, though, they're like the nicest people you ever meet. Like, you want to hate people that are good looking and they're smart and they do all great stuff. You can't hate these people. They're just so amazing, right? We go to the next slide. Yeah. So this was from one of our this was from like a YouTube coming back to us just to show you like we we worked with YouTube and we worked with one of the things we were so scared about was that everybody watched all Netflix. We talked with Netflix and we did a lessons learned with them about they've had some bad live streams, the Logan Paul fight and some other things where Netflix just crashed, right? We talked to some other companies like lessons learned trying to learn, and we learned real fast that we were going to have 100 something million people watch this, like one of the largest events ever watched. And so we wanted to make sure we didn't break anything. So we knew that like no single CDN could handle this. So we immediately, as soon as we started getting like preliminary numbers in, we immediately started talking to other CDN providers and other people. Like we talked to YouTube, and was like, hey, you got to help us out with this. We talked to Netflix. Netflix like, okay, we'll help. We talked to HBO. We talked to Discovery Channel. We talked to Akamai. We talked you name. We talked to them. And if you watched, you could see the stream was available on many platforms and many people were doing. I mean, it wasn't hard to find a stream of this event, and we didn't break anything. Right? That was my as a streaming person. Like the stream went great. There wasn't any interruptions, and we didn't break anything. Right? We went nonstop for 10 days and we didn't break anything. I wanted to kind of talk about the encoders, and this is kind of like my not a wrap up slide, but some of the things that we had to go through. So first, we were talking about bandwidth constraints, right? That's the 500K. Like, how are we going to work with? What are the things that we're going to do because we're limited with bandwidth? And then the second thing is hardware and power. And we were here a couple of years back talking to some encoder people, and one of the things we do at NASA is we like to break things. That's so we have to get an encoder or a decoder, what they call space rated, and that means people give us their encoder. The first thing we do is drop it, like it's a G test. Like, how can it withstand the fall? Can it withstand the launch? Can it withstand the landing? Right. So we drop it, and if that's not, then we almost freeze it, and we almost burn it up because in space it can get really, really cold and it can get really, really hot. So then the encoders and decoders got to be able to accept that. And then if that's not all, we take and blast it with radiation because there's radiation in space. And then once they pass that test, then we go testing all the other stuff. So we break a lot of encoders and hand them back. Like, here's some toasted, but the people who make the encoders are learning how to make better encoders based off of how we break them for them. We had one encoder one time that it for the radiation blast, whatever it was made out of, they had to look at their little scanner to see how much radiation it had, and like for 3 days later, it was still scanning that it's still retaining radiation. Like, I'm not taking that home. No. So something else that we went through was that we were trying to create our own control room, and we were looking at the cost of buying all the hardware and buying all of the infrastructure to build the infrastructure. And that for years we tried to do that, but technology kept going so fast, it was hard to, like, you buy an encoder today and they've come up with some new format. Well, I got to buy a new encoder now, right? So what we did was we went to the cloud people. It was like 2 years ago. We went to the AWS booth and we said, we need some of these tools. We need to be able to set a master control up and like a full. You guys have all been in or seen a master control where there's all these monitors and switches and buttons and everything. We needed to create one of these in the cloud, and we need to be able to change things on the fly. Like if there's a new codec, or if there's a new, delivery method, we need to be able to spin that up in the fly. We need to do our character generator in the cloud. We needed to do closed captioning in the cloud. We need to do audio control in the cloud. So we worked with cloud providers, and what you're seeing here is that this is one of the things I always talk about with streaming is making sure you have redundancy. So we had an ingest or one location at Goddard Space Flight Center and one area in Marshall Space Flight Center, so that if regionally, if one went down, we could immediately switch to another. Then that fed to the cloud east and west, so that we had, if east cloud went down, we can move the west cloud go down. And then we've got one of our software programmers here who's done stuff that he's automated some of that stuff so that you just click a button and moves everything around wherever we want it to go. And so this was like for us a godsend, so that we did have things die during that 24/7, but you guys never saw it because we were able to quickly switch in real time. And we used a lot of AI, cloud AI, that would monitor the signals, and it knew before we saw that they were starting to have issues. Like the encoders and things like that in the cloud were saying, hey, there's a CPU that's up to 89%, right? And so we could use the cloud to move things over, move things around in real time and keep that 24/7 feed up. And so, yeah, this is like redundant. I forget how many redundancies we had in it. It was like 6 levels down of redundancy in the system. And you can never have enough redundancy. Like, don't ever go into an event with like one streaming encoder. Like, put something else in your pocket or get your cell phone ready to stream with or something. But don't ever go into there with like one way of doing something. Always have something in your back pocket. And depending on how prominent the stream is, have 2 or 3 things in your back pocket when you go in there, just in case you need to set up. And the other thing we learned is like have your backup hot, like have it ready to go, because you don't want to like, all right, I'm going to boot this computer now. Hold on, I got to wait for Windows to boot or whatever it is you're using. I got to wait for Windows to boot so I can switch it over. In the meantime, like 30 seconds have gone by, but 30 seconds in broadcast time is like 30 minutes. It feels like 30 minutes. So we had all that, and then on the very end, we had a whole bunch of broadcast partners like Netflix, HBO, Discovery Channel, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. Everybody wanted some of these feeds, and so we were able to use the cloud to whatever format they wanted. We were able to deliver them in the exact format they wanted. So it wasn't just we put one standard out there and you got to figure out. We actually worked with the broadcaster because our deal was we wanted to make sure that you could get the best view through their platform. Which was really cool with HBO because we worked with Dolby Vision, and if you watched on HBO, you actually got to see 10-bit 422 HDR Dolby Vision, which was really cool. A lot of the moon shots, the black and white contrast, and the Earth shot they really look good on that. I think I got one more slide. Okay, so these are we're still collecting numbers because we were on so many platforms. I think I looked today and we're like totals like 149 million altogether, and it's not. And I know some of you guys are stuck to like one app or one delivery place, but because we went so many places, we had to figure out how we collect all that data back and so this is something I put together real fast. But yeah, you can look at this is the individual broadcast. This isn't the 24/7 stream. This is like we did because we didn't want you to have to search through 10 days of footage to find something. We wanted you to go, I want to see the launch, or I want to go see the going around the moon, or I want to see the splashdown. So we did a bunch of little, what they call pull out shows where we still kept the 24/7 feed up, but we did like a specific show. And so when the crew comes home, there's like 29 million views, 3 million peak concurrency. That's just on 1 or 2 of the smaller platforms. But we started adding it up. This is one show. And then the other show was the official broadcast that was pulled out. And again, the numbers that we're getting before we got on the showroom floor today was like 149 million people watched the splashdown part. And it was great to see that we had that many people. And I was shocked and surprised at how many viral moments came out of that. Like I'm expecting free Nutella now. I don't know if y'all saw the Nutella floating in space. I want some free Nutella now because it was you couldn't have planned animation better than that. Like they pulled it out of the bag and they weren't paying attention, just kind of spun and then just went right center of the camera, pretty as you please, and spun around. And then not even what, a couple of minutes later, Nutella had a frame grab of that and said, "We're out of this world." I was like, that's crazy. We had viral moments with them naming the crater after his wife. So again, hopefully I was trying to talk so fast because we had so many things going on, but redundancy is key. Make sure you have your video stack so that you can go make changes in real time. You can change the encoder latency or frame rates or things like that and not have to stop. For us, if we had to hit the stop button, people were like, oh, they're switching to the studio now to fake so we had to make sure that it was always live. makes, again, redundancy, making sure that, and then when you're having big events, like the cool thing is like the YouTubes and the Twitches and the NASA, there's so many people that you can get with that are streamers. I mean, there's some of them are over here talking today, and we're willing to give information because we want to tell you our secrets and how to make things better because we want you guys to be better. That pushes us to be better as well. So again, I don't mind telling our secrets on how we did things. I mean, it wasn't always perfect what we did, um, just because of the bandwidth wasn't great, or the or Orion wasn't in the right position to get a pretty feed. You know, so the cameras were mounted on the little solar wings of the Orion. And so in order to get a picture of the Earth, like, hey, we need that picture of the Earth getting smaller. So we call up to the people that control the Orion. And for them to do that, they actually had to like move the Orion and then like tilt the solar panels. So that wasn't an easy, it wasn't like, hey, let me get my little PTZ and go, and there's this, right? There was a whole bunch of communication to make that thing happen. And then there was like the latency was like 1.3 seconds there and back, or one there and then 1.3 back. So that's not bad from the moon, right? Yeah. So hopefully that what we went through helped. Some other things I'm going to throw out there. We've got some more projects that are coming up. If you were in our earlier session, that we're going back. We've got eight more of these things to do, right? And so we're looking for people with ideas. I have a public LinkedIn page, and you can access it and send me ideas. They want to engage the public, right? And so we've been tossing around ideas like, what can we do? We've got 11 missions in like a year that's going to start putting things on the moon. And we were like, and there's actually extra little payloads left over. Like, what can we do? What can we put in? They asked me, and I'm like, I want to see a 360 camera on the moon, right? So you can put your little VR helmet on and look around like, oh, this is the moon, right? And they're like, oh, that's really cool. And then like, well, I want to put like a 12K camera on the moon with VR so I can go watch the moon landing at the sphere, right? Wouldn't that be cool to go to the sphere and watch the moon landing at the sphere? And then I said, well, what else can we do? It's like, oh, we'll put a camera on a lunar rover so we can move that rover around. Like, it's not just a static camera, but we can move it around. And he's like, oh, like the upper NASA people was like, oh, these are all good ideas. And I was like, went off the rails a little bit. I was like, then we need to like give people access so they can drive the lunar rovers around so that they can see that the moon is that we've landed and it's real. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. And I said, then we need to put like 3 or 4 of them on there and race them and have people race the lunar rovers on the moon. And he's like, I think we're gonna stop right there, Lee. So there's no idea too crazy, right? Because I always that's been my motto for a long time because I was wrong on several things, like Facebook. I didn't know Facebook was going to be a thing, and now look how big. I was one of those like, it's not going to do anything, and then all of a sudden Facebook is huge. So we're taking the same approach at NASA. Like, there's no idea too crazy. Like to us, like we had a guy hit us up a few minutes ago. He's like, he wanted to race. So they launched these little CubeSats, Starlink, right? And NASA launched these little CubeSats, so like this big, and he wanted to put cameras on them, and he wanted to let people fly those things in space, like point around and use the cameras and do that. So I'm like, well, that's cool, right? Again, no idea too crazy. If you've got, we had a couple of people hit us up with encoders that they wanted to put a satellite around the moon, and they wanted to be able to take like a Google Earth of the live things that we're doing on the moon so that you can look at any time and see what they're doing on the moon. And we've got another group that wants to do a camera pointing at Earth the whole time so that you can go on YouTube, click the button, and you can see Earth. I mean, we kind of do that right now with ISS Live, but we're so close to the Earth, you don't get to see the big ball. You get to see, I've got that up in my, like, you can go to YouTube right now. It's called High Definition Earth View. It's from NASA. You can click on it. It's up 24/7. You click on it, and it's a camera, high definition camera on the side of the space station that's kind of pointed at the Earth at all times. And that's like the most relaxing thing you can ever see. It's just that from that high up, watching the clouds go by, and you see, oh, there's Australia or there's Canada, there's all these things go by. It's like so relaxing, but that's out there. So again, hit me up. You've got ideas, or you got an encoder or a camera, like nothing's too crazy. Wait, did anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Ha, you ready for this answer? Nothing, because there's no bonded cellular in the middle of the ocean, right? And the only thing that we had with data uplink was like a Starlink, right? So that's why we had 7 assets. So if one went down, there were like 6 others that we could use, and there were some on the ship with long range cameras. So that kind of was a back. It wasn't the backup for Starlink. It was like a whole backup data path, right? So multiple times, yeah. Cool. Anybody else got a question? Okay. Oh, that back row right there. There's raise your hands, guys, if you worked on the thing. Yeah, yeah. Oh, right here, the Johnson guys right here too. Yeah, yeah. All right, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just
All
waiting.
right.
Hi, Antonio Martinez, Central Broadcasting Corporation out of Utuado, Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I watched the whole stream. I watched everything, but I work with radio, and I felt like there wasn't any radio's broadcast specific. I haven't heard anything about radio and the history about NASA and radio being part of the launches.
So
I didn't feel this with this launch. What can we do to implement radio for the future into all of this?
gotcha. So there was I always get it messed up. It's like a earth to ground. There's like a ham thing that was going on that you could receive that, but out of context, it was hard to hear what there's, because a lot of it, NASA and the government's really bad about acronyms. So you could have listened all day and not known what we said. It's like the PCA in the white Ficker is at 23. And you're like, what does that mean? Well, his lunch is done, right? Something like that, right? So we are looking at having, like, we love partners. So radio stations, like if you've got an idea, it's like, hey, this would be great. We had a 24/7 feed. If you needed an audio only feed of that, ring the doorbell. We're here. Like, we're willing to work with partners. We're trying to get it out to as many people. Like, we call it, the taxpayers pay for this, and we want to make sure that you guys are getting your money's worth from all this, because NASA is not cheap, but we want to make sure that you guys are getting your money's worth. And I got to get a shout out to our new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, who's just been a breath of fresh air. That he comes in and he wants so much transparency, and he's taken a lot of the controls and things off of what we do, like to have that 24/7, because like we need to hide this stuff, because and then the first thing happens when we start hiding stuff or not showing things, like, oh, they're in a studio now, or so him coming in and saying, let's do this feed, or let's do this, or and he's on TV all the time, like he takes onus if something's not good or not right. Like we had a stream, the launch stream, we had this cameras that died, like not even 5 minutes later he was on social media, like, this is on me, we're going to make this better, right? And like, wow, how many big people in charge of things actually get on there and take onus for something that the people way down here did? So a breath of fresh air with Jared. You got any more questions? Were there more questions? Why the cameras failed? So at NASA, we have the engineering people who have engineering cameras, and we have our press cameras. And a lot of the feeds that we use, we borrow from engineering, right? So they're used for engineering purposes. And we, just like every other business, kind of a little bit of a lack of communication. We didn't realize that they had set these cameras to auto iris. Yeah. So, and what they wanted to see was, they wanted to see the flame, not the clouds and the pretty rock. They wanted to lock it down so they could see the flame. But that's an engineering requirement. How, is this flame coming out of this thing? Is it good? Is it solid? What does it look like? Right. We didn't know that. So that's why when she looked up at the thing, 12 cameras went, the iris shut down because they're in auto iris. Engineers were happy. Yeah, they work. I mean, we were like, what happened? Yeah. So, any more questions? Yes. So we have team at Marshall that handled some of the streaming. We had a team at Goddard that handled some of the streaming, because we had 10 total streams going on. We had like a Spanish version. We had two 24/7 versions. We had like shows that would go on. So there's like 11 streams that we were maintaining at all times between those two crews. And then we have Johnson. Oh, Kennedy handled the launch part of the video, getting all the videos back to us, and Johnson handled all the video for while it was in mission and the launch, the landing and recovery. So a lot of people, like, it's not just me, but there was like thousands of people making this happen. And we're always like, it's not just us, it's all these people. Like, it was the people working 10 years ago. Like, this started 10 years ago. And like, where are we going to put cameras? What does that look like? How are we going to put the cameras on there? How are we going to power that? That all happened 10 years ago. And we're just now seeing the fruits of their labor. And half those people that put this stuff together, they're retired, right? So they're sitting in the home going, I'm not stressed, right? But so for it to be, some of this stuff to be 10 years old and for it to work as good as it did was awesome. Like, these guys know how to engineer. I'm always impressed by NASA engineers, what they can do, especially like, fixing a toilet in space with no screwdriver or whatever it was. Yeah. So it's awesome. Any more questions? Yes. It's like next year is the next one. Oh yeah, we for this launch it was 2 years. The people at Kennedy, we do what they call sims, and so if you can imagine, there's a video game of this launch, and we feed all these encoders with these video game type imagery, and they practice. They practice, like, if the rocket responds this way, what do we do? If it responds this way, what do we do? So it's like two years of them doing nothing but practicing, and then towards the last year, they involve streaming people, and they install and they got the production team involved that did the switching and the audio, and they practiced with those animations, so that we knew, like, this is a good camera to take at this time. This is a good camera to take at this time. They just kept practicing and practicing, and we knew about a year out that we were only going to have 500 kilobits of bandwidth. So we made that shot look like 500, and our engineers practiced on how we clean it up. What happens if we lose this signal? That's when we came up with, oh, let's do this animation so we have something to fall back, because we knew we were going to lose the signal. And then we made some decisions. Like, if you saw it, they went to blue screen a couple of times. Because it was moving so slow, we couldn't do a freeze frame, because we wouldn't know if it's moving or not. We didn't want to use red, because red would go out and like, oh, people, and we didn't want to use green. So we tried to find some neutral color, and blue was a good color. So we knew, oh, that we've lost something. It's not down, but we've lost something. We need to switch a camera, or the bandwidth went down. So it was a lot of thought. Again, 10 years of learning up to this one event, and we'll get to do it again like next year. So yes.
When Starlink went through re-entry, I think they were bouncing off Starlink, and they had a live feed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that possible with you? Or is it possible for this? Because I know you had LOS when they came re-entry because of the plasma.
Yeah. They are working on some other things. Like, there's a great group called the Deep Space Network. They were here earlier today, and that's the things that they dream up. Like, they're going to implement like some satellites that go around the Earth, kind of like Starlink, but it's going to be NASA kind of thing. This laser thing worked. We tested it. It worked. So there's going to be more of that. So you can imagine, like, the capsule is like pointing a laser this way, and we're getting it back. Yeah. So the Deep Space Network guys, they always amaze me. Like, when they said lasers like 5 years ago, I was like, you have an encoder that works with a laser? Like, where do you plug a laser in? Right? I didn't even know where so it was really cool stuff. And I always thought, like, laser, I was look up in the sky and there'd be the red thing going like, but you can't see the laser because it's out of the spectrum of the eyes. Any more questions? Yeah. Yeah. So part of the project of the Deep Space Network is to have more of these land-based places, so that as it's tracking, it can quickly go to the next one, or quickly go to the next one. And there'll be satellites that the lasers are going to hit the satellite, and then the satellites, a whole link of satellites are going to broadcast it down as well. So we're not going to try to hit Earth, but some satellites. Yeah. So there's a couple of projects going on right now about having a bunch of satellites going around the moon so that they can broadcast from the moon to a satellite and then that satellite back to a satellite and come back down. We talked yesterday about having Wi-Fi on the moon, like when they make the habitats and things like that, so that I know it's crazy, but like the astronauts want to do FaceTime, like they want to take their phone and FaceTime their kids from the moon. Well, Wi-Fi data, I mean, doesn't the data is here. It's no different from having like a router in your house. You just connect your phone to Wi-Fi and you can FaceTime your kids. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Curious, that animation.
Yeah.
Thank you. That animation you mentioned earlier that was like cut back to every once in a while during the broadcast or during the stream. Was that being updated in real time, or was that all created pre?
No, that was all
pre-launch or
updated. The
anything?
data that it was getting, the position. So during space, we learned a lot with space station. There's the same type of animation with the space station that there's an ISS tracker. I think sometimes you can go online and see ISS tracker, and there's a good one that has like, it tells you where how it's positioned and where it's at. So they use that same technology and fed this, like, I want to say like an Unreal Engine type real 3D display kind of thing. And the data coming back from that capsule was feeding this software, which is then updating the picture of the Orion capsule. And then we had people that could manipulate, like pan it around or move it around so that as we were going to the moon, they had the moon in the front. As we were going back to Earth, they would turn around so you could see the Earth. So it was really cool to, again, something that was entertaining and informational at the same time. So you just didn't get to see a blue screen or nothing. Yeah. Cool. Any more questions? I know it was quick and I know I talked fast. I had a lot to say. So I appreciate everybody being here today. And again, if you got any ideas, it doesn't matter how crazy, just hit me up on LinkedIn or catch one of the people with NASA badges on and say, hey, I got this crazy idea. Because again, I want to race those lunar rovers on the, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liquida. Big round of applause for Lee Erickson, everyone. Thank you. I know he's going to stick around a little bit if y'all want to talk to him. And we're back here at 3:00 with Gabe Michael talking about new generative AI tools. So if y'all want to head back at 3:00, we'll be back in here. Thank you.